Well, good evening. My name is Musho. I'm one of the senior students, the many senior students at the Village Zendo. I want to say happy spring to you. I'm sure you're all trying to get your vaccinations or maybe have gotten them. It's happening. That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. I'm here on a Tuesday night. This is an experiment with giving Dharma talks on Tuesday nights. The senior students get together once in a while, and because we have a treasury of teachers and student teachers, there's less time for us senior students to do our Dharma talk practice. So we are trying to see if we can use Tuesday nights for senior student Dharma talk practice. The question is, do we need more Dharma talks in this world? I'm not sure what the answer is to that, but we will see. I also want to say the idea for tonight's talk came from Venerable Master Seizon from our Sangha, who told me I should give a talk explaining all of the Buddhas that live on a shelf here in my office. When I started my practice, I had this idea that there was only one Buddha, one great big Shakyamuni sitting on a giant lotus throne. And when you go to Japan, you'll see many of these giant Buddhas in these church-like temples in Japan. And that's the way I thought of it. But when I got to the Village Zendo and started my real practice, I realized there were others. In fact, in our Fusatsu bowing ceremony, we mention and we become one with the 7 previous Buddhas, right? So then I was like, oh, maybe there's 8 Buddhas because there were 7, but there's 7 new ones that I have to think about. And in our meal chant, others are mentioned. And then I realized there's 100 Buddhas, or maybe 1,000, or millions. I mean, they're everywhere, billions of Buddhas. So tonight I'm going to talk about 20 of the different Buddhas that I have. Now, one of the awkward things is I'm using my phone and I'm going to switch it around and I may drop it. My connection may go dead. Lots of amazing things might happen, but we'll just go with that. So now I'm going to remove it from the holder and I'm going to switch it around. And now you can see my Buddha collection. And I'm going to start down here with Keychain Buddha. And Keychain Buddha is my very first Buddha, and he was on a keychain that I actually used when I was in elementary school. How about that? I didn't have any idea what the meaning was or who this particular character was, but I carried it around in my pocket. It used to be gold colored, but it got all worn off. And somehow I managed to keep this thing, and I brought him out for you to see. So that is Keychain Buddha. Next, we're moving on to what I call Decorator Buddha. And when my family moved from an apartment in San Francisco, in the San Francisco area, we moved to Bethesda, Maryland, to a big suburban house. When we got there, we didn't have anything, any furniture. We had just the bare necessities of what were in the apartment. My father, I guess, had gotten a big promotion because what he decided to do was hire a decorator to decorate the entire house, everything. The decorator bought the bookcases and the chairs and the tables and all the furniture and all the knickknacks and all the paintings, and everything came from this decorator. I guess it was something you did in the 70s. Anyway, one of the artifacts was this Hotai Chinese Buddha monk figure that I really love. He has a great expression on his face, and he's holding either an apple or it could possibly be the wish-fulfilling jewel. And he's the only surviving relic of my suburban home that I have, and of the decorating extravaganza that occurred there. So there is Hotai Decorator Buddha. In the back here, also from my childhood, is C3PO Buddha. And C3PO is the Buddha of protocol and manners. He's a very useful Bodhisattva Buddha to have. And if you happen to be involved in an interplanetary war, I would definitely bring C3PO Buddha along with you. Also from my, I guess, childhood, my teenage years, is this Hopi eagle, Kachina Buddha. And this Buddha I bought when I was maybe 17 or 18 years old on a trip to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And Santa Fe was quite a small town, actually, when I was there in the late 70s. And this is a really nice Hopi Kachina. You can see it has wings with wooden feathers. It's gotten a little broken over the years, but I really love it. And eagle, Kachina, is the eagle of strength and power, and also a carrier of dreams, it says about eagle Kachina. I don't know where he carries the dreams to and from, but it's a beautiful idea, the carrier of dreams. So thank you, Hopi eagle Kachina Buddha, for that. Moving on, let's go here. These two Buddhas are from my Shuso Hosen ceremony way back 1,000 years ago in 2014, if you can remember that. And the koan that I did was Master Zhongyi's monkey. And after the ceremony, two of the Sangha members came, each one gave me one of these figures. And this has become Master Zhongyi here. And this is Yangshan, who was his student at the time. And Yangshan asked Master Zhongyi, what is the meaning of Buddha nature? And Zhongyi says, well, it's like putting a monkey in a room with 6 windows. When someone outside calls, Simeon, Simeon, the monkey then responds. And then Yangshan says, well, what about when the monkey is asleep? And then Zhongyi comes down from his seat, grabs Yangshan and says, Simeon, Simeon, you and I see each other. There they are. It's a great story. And if you want to know more about it, go to case 72 of the Book of Serenity. This porcelain Cloisonne Buddha from Japan, I call Daitsu Chiso Buddha. And Daitsu Chiso has been sitting here for 10 million years. And in all that time has not become a Buddha. It's very strange. I think I would be disappointed if I was her, but she's actually very serene and doesn't seem to be worried at all about attaining Buddhahood. She's definitely some kind of example for us here. Look at that face. She's really fine, satisfied with the way she is. And her beautiful sitting and robes, I think, tell her story. So if you want to know more about Daitsu Chiso, try case 9 from the Gateless Barrier. Moving along, this I call Street Buddha. And this wooden carved Thai Buddha was given to me by a man who went in and out of homelessness when I lived in Soho, New York City. And he used to come to my door and ask for money. In the beginning, it was kind of annoying, but I started to get to know him, and I did give him money. And I also would give him an odd job once in a while. And he was a really remarkable fellow. And he really did become a friend after 20 years, actually, of him visiting me and helping me. I do not know what has become of Tony from Soho, but I hope he's still around. And I do cherish this Buddha that he gave me. It also has some nice Mardi Gras beads on it for some reason. So thank you, Tony from Soho. And thank you, Street Buddha. Let's see. Let's go to this one. This is Medicine Buddha, and it came with an instruction sheet, which is good because it looked very complicated. But Medicine Buddha seems to be a Tibetan deity who is for dispelling sickness and also awakening innate healing wisdom. Isn't that great? Innate healing wisdom. So awakening the healing wisdom that you already have. What a great service. This Buddha was also given to me by Seicho, another one of our venerable Sangha members, and I thank her deeply for Medicine Buddha. Into the back row here, we have a really great Bodhidharma carved out of a log. And I think I'm going to turn around so you can see the bark is still there on the back. It's a really great carving of our Bodhidharma, our very first Zen teacher. But I have one question. Why does not Bodhidharma have a beard? Bodhidharma has no beard. It's kind of strange. In front of a fool, don't talk about dreams, okay? Bodhidharma has no beard. It's adding stupidity to clarity, after all. If you want to find more about that, check out case 4 in the Gateless Barrier. I'm going to move on to Guanyin, who is the Chinese manifestation of Avalokiteshvara. And this is a really beautiful porcelain Guanyin that was in my mother-in-law's apartment for many, many years. And when she moved, it got shuffled around, but I'm so happy that I'm able to have this beautiful Guanyin. Now I have to say something about my mother-in-law. She's 96 years old. She's in the final phases of dementia. She does not know who anyone is around her. And she took a fall a couple days ago. And from what we know, she's in her final days of her life. She cannot speak. And I think she might be in quite a bit of pain, but nobody really knows. I was thinking, we have Avalokiteshvara, who's the hearer, hears the suffering of the world. And I think Guanyin can hear my mother-in-law's suffering. We can't. She can't tell us what she's feeling. But Guanyin can. So thank you, Guanyin, for being the one who's listening everywhere, all the time, to everyone, even when they can't speak. Thank you. And thank you to Gloria Lebo, who's in her last days. I'm gonna switch out now to the other view. Bear with me here. Oops. Okay. And I'm gonna put this here. Sorry about the transformation. And I'm gonna step here. This is the first Dharma talk I've ever given standing up, and I'm also standing on a chair because this bookcase is a little high. So I'm going to talk about bronze giant Shakyamuni here, who I got on eBay. And when I looked at this eBay site, it was a factory where they were making these things. They had all these different Buddhas with different poses. And it looked like a really cool place, very primitive and wonderful. So I ordered a teaching Buddha. So it was this same figure, but with a hand like this. So a teacher, a Buddha locked in the teaching position. And the reason I wanted this was because I wanted to learn. I wanted to understand. And I wanted Shakyamuni always telling me these things. And I was really excited to get a teaching Buddha. But then when it finally arrived, and it came all the way from China, it wasn't the teaching Buddha, it was a listening Buddha, a receiving Buddha. And I think you could see the hands are down, an open hand in one side and an open hand in the lap. So it's a receiving kind of a Shakyamuni figure. I was a little disappointed, but after a while I realized maybe what I needed was a listening Buddha and not someone always telling me what to do, which is a great idea. Wouldn't it be wonderful? But instead, maybe there was something to it, that it ended up being a Buddha who's continually listening and listening to my understanding of the Dharma. And that's the way it worked out. It's beautiful. It looks Chinese, but I think it's probably from the very, very south of China. It's probably from a factory on the Nepal border, the way it's formed. And it's really heavy. It's probably 45 pounds, bronze. And so that's the story of Shakyamuni Buddha receiving pose. Down here, I think you can see, this is a little porcelain Buddha and two fox deities. And these I got in a temple tag sale in Japan. So I call them temple tag sale Buddha and foxes. If you ever go to Japan and you happen to go by, this is all by chance, but if you happen to see a temple tag sale, you must go. There were so many amazing things. And actually, if you go to a tag sale in another country, it's really interesting. There's just, you're going to see things that you would never see, so that people are getting rid of. So I bought this Buddha, and I think these two foxes at a temple tag sale. So they're the temple tag sale set. The fox deities are really common in Japan. They're all over. They're Shinto characters, and they are spirits of fertility, rice, tea, and sake. How great is that? Fertility and sake. Somehow maybe those go together. I don't know. But that's that set here. Now, I'm going to move here. Wait, I'm going to take a sip of water. Sorry. Because this next Buddha is really difficult to talk about. This is Infinite Nothing Buddha, which you probably aren't familiar with, but it's a Buddha that encompasses everything and nothing. So this Buddha, you open it up, and there's another Buddha, Infinite Buddha inside, and then this one opens up, and there's another Infinite Buddha inside. I don't have enough time to keep going down and down and down into this Buddha because it's infinite. I mean, eventually it's a microscopic Infinite Nothing Buddha, and then there's a molecular one, and then there's an atomic sized one, and it just keeps going until there's basically a quantum Infinite Nothing Buddha. And then after that, it's just theoretical. Nobody knows how small it is, how small Buddha is at that point. And you have to imagine this as a model that also goes out. So, you know, after this Buddha, there'd be one that was a little bigger, another one a little bigger than that, and a little bigger than that, a little bigger than that. And it would just keep going till it was the size of this room and the size of the town here, the size of New York State, going all the way out till it was the size of our whole planet Earth, filling up the world. And then beyond that, the size of our solar system and the size of our universe and the size of all universes. And it would really just encompass everything. So that's all I have time for when I'm talking about Infinite Nothing Buddha. So thank you, Infinite Nothing Buddha. Here we have Kshitigarbha, also known as Jizo, but I love saying Kshitigarbha. It's such a great name. And Kshitigarbha, or Jizo, is, in Japan, he's the protector of travelers, pregnant mothers, and also, more importantly, departed children, right? So if you're in Japan, you'll see often on the side of the road little Jizo figures, and sometimes they have little caps and clothing, and it's very interesting. But when you ask your Japanese friends about them, a certain hush comes over their voices because it's actually very deep, a spirit that protects departed children. And I also think it might be about aborted children, children who die before they're born too. So there are quite a few of these statues around in Japan. There are also, in some Zen temples, they also have a tall one, a kind of a full-size Jizo holding a staff with rings that he would carry around and bang on the ground, and you would hear this monk coming with these rings. And that's also another manifestation of Jizo. So thank you, Jizo, for all your work protecting travelers and departed children. It's a very useful Buddha to have around. I'm going to switch back here. Okay. Now we have, yes, this is mysterious cast iron Japanese Avalokiteshvara. Really, the flip side of our Guanyin in white over here is this wild, detailed Avalokiteshvara with all kinds of tools and an axe and a tower, and she has 3 heads on top of her head, and she's on a flaming background and a lotus throne. It's just fantastic. But the amazing thing about this is I have no idea who gave me this. It appeared, a Japanese man called me. He didn't have good English, but he wanted to come and visit. And at that time I was doing a lot of work for a Japanese company. So he came over to the place where I lived in New York, and out of a bag, he had this statue and he said, "This is for you." This was also before I started my serious Buddhist practice. And I said, "Thank you." And I was amazed. And then he left. I looked in my email and everywhere, and I could not find anything about the man who gave me this statue. And still to this day, I have no idea why or how or who he was. But he came and he brought me this amazing Avalokiteshvara. So thank you, mysterious man in the Japanese. Thank you, mysterious Japanese man from the past, for bringing me such a treasure. This is Aboriginal Australian Buddha. I do not know anything about this figure, but I did buy it in Australia on a trip way out to Ayers Rock. And that place is a mysterious, enchanted place. I mean, it is just like nothing else on this world. It is another planet in the middle of Australia. I don't know that much about it, but Aboriginal art is so interesting and beautiful and powerful. And I'm just lucky to have this great figure from Australia. All right, I'm winding down now. Let's see how I'm doing on time. Okay, I've got Gumby and Pokey Buddhas, and also their nemesis, the blockheads, are over here. The reason I have Gumby and Pokey is because they're kind of important to me in a certain way. If you were to look at an early episode of Gumby and then look at my artwork, there would be a really heavy connection. I was very, very impressed with the artwork of Art Clokey, who's the designer of Gumby. Now, Gumby is he is the Buddha of optimism and ingenuity. Very optimistic and always thinking of some great new way of solving a problem. And not afraid, a very brave fellow. He often, in the early episodes, would get cut up into bits, turned into tiny Buddhas, run around, and then tiny Gumbys, and then run around and rejoin himself as one Gumby. It's pretty amazing. And then Pokey is his sidekick, who is really an avatar of common sense. And Pokey's always saying, "I do not think we should do that." And Gumby is always like, "It's going to be all right, Gumby." And Pokey, and that's That's how they interact. And I love that about them. Now, the blockheads actually are not Buddhas. They are demons, actually. And they are kind of like petty criminals. They're greedy grifters, and they're always causing trouble. And it's always kind of hard to understand why they want to steal things and trick people. But I think I've put them up here on my altar because it's important to recognize those people. And even though you might not know what their motivation is, it's good to know something about them, because there certainly are people in this world who we disagree with, are afraid of, and whose actions we don't approve of. So that's why I keep the blockheads here. And I have Gumby to protect me from them, so it's probably all right. Coming to the end, I have this really nice Japanese cast iron meditating Shakyamuni. And this came from my wife, Dina's suburban childhood home. It sat on a shelf near a staircase for her childhood. And she doesn't know exactly where it came from or why it was there, but it's really beautiful. And it's a very common pose that you would see in Japan. And it looks exactly like the giant Kamakura Buddha they have in Japan. It's near Yokohama, and you can see it. It's like 30 feet tall or something, 18 feet tall or something. But it's just a very beautiful, serene pose. We should all do our meditation like this Buddha. Just everything about it is just beautiful. Kind. His face is very kind, but somehow stern. And his hands are really locked in the cosmic mudra. His robes are draped. It's just a beautiful piece. All right, I'm almost finished. I'm going to switch around again for the ending here. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Finally, here I am. Finally, we have the neighborhood trolley. Now, the neighborhood trolley is not exactly a Buddha, but it could be. You could think of it as one, because in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, and Mr. Rogers, of course, is a Buddha. We all know that. There's the neighborhood, and then there's also the neighborhood of make-believe. But to get from the neighborhood to the neighborhood of make-believe, you have to take this trolley. So you have to have some intention. You just can't slide haphazardly to the neighborhood of make-believe. You have to go on the trolley. What I think is great about this is it's a kind of awakening all the time, because so many of us and so many times we can slip into the neighborhood of make-believe. Some people actually live their entire lives in the neighborhood of make-believe. But we're Zen students, and we're trying to be able to see that we're living in the world of make-believe sometimes and leaving the world of make-believe, even for just a moment. And if you want to do that, I would suggest, among other things, the neighborhood trolley. It will work well to bring you with intention from where we are to the neighborhood of make-believe and back. So thank you, Mr. Rogers, for that. And there's one other thing. This actually has been signed by Mr. Rogers. Isn't that cool? I never met him, but my friend had met him, and one of my friends from up here and had given me this trolley that Mr. Rogers had signed. So that is my talk, and I will end with a poem, of course, as usual, that I like to do. And let me put this to the side, and I will read you my poem. Buddhas and demons are everywhere. It's not make-believe. Stupidity and clarity are carved out of the same log. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful evening, and take care.